In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make homemade vegetable broth from scraps. So gathering the ingredients for broth usually takes me about a week or 2 weeks, just depending on like how much I'm cooking in that time. So whenever you're doing any cooking at home that involves vegetables, just make sure that you wash your peels and just gather the slices, gather the peels and put them in a Ziploc bag, or you could use a Tupperware as well, whichever you've got works absolutely fine. And just put it in the freezer and just store it in there until it actually comes time to you wanting to make your broth. So when you see the next steps on how to make vegetable broth, you're probably going to be like, wow, that is like so easy. So when the time has come for you to make your broth, get your veggies out of the freezer and just fill up a big pan with them. In our house we use a lot of onions, potatoes, carrots, things like that. So that's usually what the base of my broth is. But if you live in a house where you use a huge variety of vegetables, you're going to have a really exciting broth. So the next step is I grab some water, preferably spring water, but that is up to you what kind of water you use, and I just pour it over the vegetables and fill the pan up to about halfway. The reason I don't fill it like right to the top of the veggies is because when I start to boil this, the veggies are going to shrink down and I don't want a super watery broth. So in the next step, what I usually do is like add some herbs. This time I'm using Italian herbs, but honestly that's up to you. Whatever flavors you like, you can add it. And then I add some salt as well, because salt just makes everything good. So yeah, I add some herbs, and then after I've done that, I'll put the lid on the pan, and then I'll put it on the stove, and I'll put it on medium to high heat and bring it to a boil. So as the water starts to boil, you want to just like keep going back quite frequently and just dunking your vegetables underneath. I don't know if there's a real science to this, but my theory is that the more the vegetables are under the water, the more nutrients you get and the more flavour you get. And also, if you're wondering what that big green blob is, that is spinach that I added in at the last minute. I don't usually boil the scraps for a certain amount of time. I usually just eyeball it, so once the water starts to get quite brown and your vegetables are quite soft, I usually say that that's done. So when it gets to that stage, I'll turn the heat off and just let the vegetables sit in the water for a little bit longer. Just let it stew, just get that last bit of flavour out before I start to strain it. Once I've strained the vegetables, I basically just give it a push down, a squish you could say, with a ladle just to get any of that liquid out of the veggies. We don't want to be wasting any of that broth. I do one final strain just to make sure that no bits got through the sieve. I just want to make sure that it's extra smooth and you're not going to get any lumpy bits in your broth. And for the final stage of your broth making, you want to allow for your broth to cool down. It doesn't have to be like thoroughly, but just cool down enough to put it in the fridge. So yeah, fill up your jars, your Tupperware, whatever you're storing your broth in, and it's ready to go to make soups, to sip on if you're like my husband. I personally am not a fan of that. I just use broth to make soups, or a gravy. But yeah, it is ready to go. You can put this in the fridge. I usually will keep it for a maximum of 3 days in the fridge, and then anything longer than that I'll put it into Ziploc bags and freeze it, and then just defrost it as I need. So anyway, that is the end of this video. I hope that has been helpful to you. I just want to say thank you for watching, and I just hope that you have a wonderful day, and let me know if you enjoyed this broth. It's super easy, and yeah, it's actually crazily simple. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.